Alright guys, hey. I like this book. It's getting better as it goes along. So we're in Zach's Lie, and we are on chapter 11. Chapter 11, Sunday, September the 24th, and it's on page 96. This is Zach's diary, his journal. I can't believe that I abandoned Commander If. Well, what else could I have done? Thanks for picking up my imaginary friend, Catalin. Are you impressed? Do you want to hang out with a guy whose best friend, whose only friend, is an 1.5 inch long toy astronaut? And speaking of friends, my first genuine contact with a classmate was right across to his face. Not that Peter Short and I would have ever become friends, but this is not what I had in mind when I woke up last Friday. I wonder if Jack would have done the same when I was him. Probably not. Jack would have walked away from the situation, shown up in English class without his book, and told the teacher that he had forgotten it. Mrs. Pyle has not called Mom, yet I'm not going to tell her about Peter unless I have to. She has enough to worry about. I just need to calm down and try to keep the feeling I had after my session in Sam's lair beneath the stage. Catalin has been on my mind all weekend. I wonder where she lives and what she really meant by liking the color of my eyes. Duh. We ran errands this weekend. On Saturday, we looked at cars for Wanda so she can drive to work and school without Mom having to chauffeur. We found a used Honda without too many miles on it, and today we drove it all the way to Salt Lake, where Mom looked at computers. She couldn't decide which one to buy, so we drove all the way there for nothing. On the way to school, Monday, Zach was less concerned about making new friends. The calmness that had come after beating the heavy bag still remained, although his arms and legs were sore, and when he walked up the stairs to the school, several people said hello to him. He tried not to act too surprised and pleased, but he was both. And when he got inside, the first thing he did was look for Peter, who was not hard to find. He was standing in the hallway surrounded by 6 students admiring his black eye, which was the color and size of a charcoal briquette. When Zach walked up to Peter, the groupies stepped aside. I'm sorry about the eye. Zach held his hand out. Peter looked at Zach's hand for a second and then said, You couldn't have touched me if I had been expecting it. You're probably right. No hard feelings. We'll see. And Peter did not shake Zach's hand. Zach's next stop was the custodial room, but Sam wasn't there, and after a short search he found Sam in the boys' locker room filling the soap dispensers. Good morning, Zach. Thanks for helping me out on Friday. Sam shrugged his shoulders. It was no big deal. I apologized to Peter. Really? And how did Peter take it? I'm not sure. Well, I'd stay clear of him and his minions for a while. He's going to be thinking about what you did to him every time he looks in the mirror. And Zach was relieved to discover that Catalin was out sick. He had been thinking about telling her that the astronaut was his, but now he had another day to reconsider. During lunch, a couple of guys in his homeroom sat next to him, and he managed to have an actual conversation. One of them, Daryl Gill, lived a block from the Grangers and invited Zach over to his house. I'll give you a call after dinner, Daryl said. When Zach got home from school, he was surprised to find his mother there cleaning the house. Wanda was at work. Give me a hand, Mrs. Granger said. A contractor is coming over tonight to give me a bid for the carpentry work in the bookstore. How about putting the dishes in the washer for me? And Zach started to load it up. How was school? Good, Zach said. And this time he meant it. Who's the contractor? A nice old guy. I checked his references today, and everyone says he's the best in town for this kind of job, and he's very reasonable. Apparently, he has a couple of Basques working for him, and they're supposed to be excellent carpenters. Halfway through dinner, the phone rang. It's probably for Wanda, Mrs. Granger said. You never know, Zach picked it up. It was Daryl. When he hung up, he told his mother he was going over to a friend's house for a while. She smiled. Well, I want you home by 9 at the latest. Zach smiled back. It had been a long time since he had heard that. Too long. Daryl's father opened the front door of a house that wasn't much bigger than Zach's. Mr. Gill had red hair like his son. But that was where the similarity ended. He wore his hair in a crew cut, not down to his shoulders as Daryl did, and he was a big man with a large belly spilling over his belt. Daryl was small and could probably wear one of his father's pant legs as a skirt. You the kid that socked Peter Short in the eye? Mr. Gill asked, and Zach wished Daryl had not told his dad. I guess so. Good. Come on in. Inside of the Gill's house was set up exactly like the Grangers. Mrs. Gill was sitting on a love seat in the living, dining, family room, staring at a big screen television. Next to her was the smallest poodle Zach had ever seen. It looked like a squirrel with black curly hair. Neither Mrs. Gill nor the poodle looked away from the screen when Zach walked in. There was a deodorant commercial on. Daryl's in his room, Mr. Gill pointed to a door that would have been Zach's if he had been in his own house. Thanks, Zach said. Mr. Gill joined his wife on the poodle and the poodle on the love seat. Zach knocked on the bedroom door and no one answered. He opened the door and saw Daryl sitting on the end of his bed in front of a television screen with a video game controller in his hands and headphones clamped over his ears. The bedroom was the same size as Zach's, but the decor was different. The walls were covered with photos of Daryl posing with dead animals, targets with bullet holes in them, and pictures torn from hunting magazines. The bedspread was made out of camouflage material. So were the pillowcases. G.I. Daryl, Zach thought. The game ended and Daryl slipped the headphones off. Do you play? Sure, Zach said, although he was not exactly true. Which became obvious after Daryl blew Zach to pieces 26 times in 11 minutes. Daryl switched the television off. I guess video games aren't your thing. Do you hunt? You mean animals? Duh. No, Zach said. But I'm not against hunting. Do you fish? No. But you aren't against it. Right. So what do you like to do? Well, I don't know. I guess I like to read. So I've noticed. In fact, everyone at the school has noticed. No one in the history of Elko Middle School has read a book during lunch. It's not natural. What are you trying to prove? Zach wasn't trying to prove anything, but he knew he had to come up with a decent answer or risk losing Daryl as a potential friend. Cafeteria food is a lot easier to swallow if you don't look at it while you're putting it in your mouth, Zach said. Reading keeps my eyes off the slop on the tray. Daryl laughed. I knew it was something like that. The other guys thought you were some kind of geek, but I told them I thought there was more to you than that. You proved my point when you punched Peter out. Well, that isn't why I did it. Peter deserved it. He hassles everyone. The only people who like him are the three stooges who hang out with him. Did you go down to Sam's torture chamber and punch the bag? Yeah. Have you ever been down there? Daryl nodded. A few times. Sam's a weird dude, but I like him. I bet Peter Short's been down there 100 times. He's always getting into trouble or causing trouble for someone else. Your dad doesn't seem to be very fond of Peter either. My dad doesn't even know Peter. His problem is with Peter's dad. What does he have against Peter's dad? I don't know all the details, but he used to work for my dad at the mine. A couple of years ago, Mr. Short came up with a get-rich-quick scheme, and a lot of the miners bought into it. Everyone, including my dad, lost their money except for Mr. Short. He quit his job at the mine and started dropping piles of money at the Nugget Casino, eventually losing everything. Some of the miners tried to sue him, but all he had left was the old trailer they live in at the trailer park. Most people thought the Shorts would move on, but they stayed. So they're cheaters. Where does he work now? Zach asked. Nowhere, really. He's a hustler. Runs private poker games for high rollers from out of town. He and Peter's mom spend whatever he gets in the casinos. He's always working an angle. Peter's the same way. Like father, like son, I guess. Zach thought about his own father, shackled to the floor in an orange jumpsuit that had an extremely uncomfortable moment. Peter and me used to be friends in grade school, but things change. So what do you do when you're not reading a book? Zach decided not to tell him about his interest in museums. He liked Daryl, despite their differences, and he wanted to see where the friendship would go. Nothing much lately. I guess I'm trying to adjust to life in Elko. I've never lived in a small town. I've lived here my whole life, Daryl said. Did you know that Elko has 3 E's? What do you mean? Everyone knows everything about everybody. For instance, my dad knew that you slugged Peter in the eye with a right cross before he got home from school. You're kidding. He heard it at the mine. And if my dad heard about it, everyone in Elko has heard about it. What did your mom say? She doesn't know, and I didn't tell her about it. Mrs. Pyle didn't call her? Zach shook his head. He was surprised at this, too. So maybe Elko doesn't have 3, Daryl interrupted him. How much money do you have on you? Why? Just count it. Zach emptied his pockets. He had $3.58. Okay, Daryl said. I'll bet you $3.58 that she hears about it before Friday. I can't believe that it's that bad. Or it's as bad as that. Is it a bet? And you won't tell her. I won't have to. They shook on it, and Zach went home wondering if Daryl had just hustled him. Parked outside Zach's house was an old truck with a dented canopy. Zach assumed it belonged to the contractor. What kind of contractor would drive a truck like that? He went into the house. We're in here, his mother called. Zach took the 5 steps to the kitchen door. This is... Mrs. Granger began. Sam! Zach stared at the custodian in confusion. He was certain that he had just lost $3.58 to Daryl Gill. You know each other, Mrs. Granger asked, asking surprised at Zach. I'm the custodian at Zach's school, Sam explained. Zach looked at his mother. She seemed in pretty good spirits, which would not be the case if Sam had told her about the fight with Peter Short. Maybe I don't owe Daryl $3.58, he thought. Yet. You're a contractor, Zach asked. Part-time. Sam turned to Zach's mother. I have a confession, Mrs. Granger. Here it comes, Zach thought. I met your son a few days before school started, and he told me that you were opening a bookstore. So your dropping by the store last week wasn't a coincidence, Mrs. Granger said. No, Sam smiled. Small contracts like this are hard to find. Mrs. Granger smiled back at him. Well, we don't have a contract yet. You just haven't told me how much all of this is going to cost. Sam took a small notebook out of his shirt pocket. I've already done some figuring. I think I can get it done for $7,000 to $8,000. Mrs. Granger laughed in relief. I thought it was going to cost a lot more than that. Actually, Sam said, I was thinking of knocking a bit off the price. Well, I don't see how you could. What I had in mind was a little exchange of labor. He glanced at Zach. It's up to you and Zach, of course, but I just bought the building next door to where I live, and it needs a good cleaning. I thought you might be interested, Zach. The pay is good, and on the days you work, dinner's included. I'll knock off $500 from the total, Mrs. Granger. That is, if you and Zach agree. She looked at Zach. What do you think? It's okay with me, Zach said, but who gets the 500? I'll give you half and put the other half in your college account. Zach grinned. Then it's a deal, Sam. They shook hands on it. One more thing, Mrs. Granger said. How soon can you be done with the bookstore? Mr. Sylvester. I've already started ordering books, and I want to open by November, if possible. We'll have it done by the middle of October, maybe sooner. Mrs. Granger wrote him a check. Later that night, Mrs. Granger asked Zach and Wanda into the living dining family room for a family meeting. It's been 7 weeks since those men came, she began. I'm wondering how you're feeling now. I know this whole situation is strange, but do you both feel safe now? I think I do, Wanda said carefully, but maybe I've just been too busy to think about it. Elko's not as bad as I thought it would be. How about you, Zach? I feel okay. What happened to us seems sort of like a dream now. Are you going to send the postcard? I'm thinking about it. Dad won't do anything about his situation until he knows we're safe. If he gets out, will he come to live with us? Zach asked. I don't know, she said quietly. And that is the end of chapter 11. Good that Zach agreed. Good he's going to do hard work and make money.